Georgetown resident seeks public's help in returning stolen ID. MINGO faces more fraud charges. Lawrence's hearing delayed. CJIA, second airport in Caribbean to achieve regional health accreditation. In the region, police killing sparks riots across Colombia that leaves 7 dead. And internationally, 500,000 evacuated from Oregon as fires engulf the U.S. West Coast. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am George Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us. 4 of the suspects arrested in connection with the murder of Joel and Isaiah Henry have been released on station bail, according to a statement from the Ghana Police Force. The police force only indicated that they were released after the 72-hour period of them being in custody had expired, but they are expected to return to the police station today. Earlier this week, the police arrested 7 suspects and indicated that they were looking for 3 more. However, they have yet to divulge if those persons were actually arrested. Claremont Mingo was slapped with another fraud charge today. While he was charged jointly with former Minister of Health Volda Lawrence, her court date has been delayed. More from Bibi Bacchus.
Former returning officer for District 4 Claremont Mingo was slapped with an additional charge of electoral fraud today. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge of conspiracy to commit fraud. Nevertheless, he was released on self-bail. He was jointly charged with the chairwoman of the People's National Congress Reform, Volda Lawrence. Lawrence was previously placed on $100,000 bail in relation to the private criminal charge filed against her for fraudulent election declaration of March 5th. Her case was, however, adjourned to November 16, 2020, to allow the prosecution time to complete the filing of the statements. For Headline News Update, Bibi Bacchus.
Thanks, Bibi. According to a statement from the Joint Services, 3 persons have been arrested for robbery and destruction of property during protests in West Berbice. This was confirmed by the police force's public relations officer, who noted that 2 were arrested for robbery, while 1 was arrested for malicious damage to property. While the Joint Services have said that the situation has since stabilized in Berbice, they still advise against traveling through the area if possible. Stick around. Coming up after the break, Georgetown resident seeks public's help in returning stolen ID. And Chedijagan International Airport, second airport in the Caribbean to achieve regional health accreditation.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I gonna do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Singh and I'm the senior teacher at the Treasure After School program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online site, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379. I can call them now. Hidden Treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. The man responsible for last week's fatal accident on the Rupert Craig Highway was arraigned yesterday for causing the death of a pedal cyclist. 25-year-old Trinidadian national Akito Isaiah McPhee was not required to plead to the charge, which read that on September 3, 2020, he drove his truck in a manner dangerous to the public, thereby causing the death of 40-year-old laborer Navindra Dore. McPhee was remanded to prison until September 28, 2020. On Wednesday, one Georgetown resident was the victim of a burglary, but in addition to stealing his valuables, they stole his ID card, and now he's asking the public for their assistance as his lack of an ID has seriously affected his search for a job. Here's Esther Sobers with that story.
The pandemic has made life difficult for many to find employment. One of such persons is Byron Prasad of Festival City, North Ramveld. But now his job search has been more even difficult for him after thieves broke into his home early Wednesday morning. In addition to stealing cash and valuables, the thieves also stole something from him we often take for granted: his identification card.
I went to sleep like around 1 o'clock the morning, and I left the window open, the front window, and I had some money on top the KFC bucket. And probably the persons pulled the blind and seen the money, and they came in because I was deep in my sleep. They came in and they took the money. They took some of my clothes, and my knapsack had my IDs in it, like my ID card, my NIS card, and other papers and stuff inside.
Prasad, who was unemployed for several months, was overjoyed as he was to start a job this week. But his joy quickly turned to sadness since he needs his ID card and a police clearance to gain employment.
I'm supposed to be getting a job tomorrow. I'm supposed to be taking my IDs with my police clearance. They even took the slip that was in the bag for me to collect the police clearance. And they took everything. I mean, they threw out some of the stuff on the corner from the bag, like papers that with some numbers and names and stuff on it. They never took that, but they took my IDs. I don't know for what, but if they're gonna sell it or what, but I need my IDs so I could go and work, because I got kids I have to feed. You know what I mean? I have 2 kids, and they're depending on me. I have rent I gotta pay, so I'm glad to get back my IDs. I'm glad if I could get back my IDs.
Prasad is now appealing to the public to help him get them returned if possible. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. The CJIA International Airport has announced that it has obtained the Airport Health Accreditation from the Airports Council International, Latin America, and the Caribbean. CJIA is the second airport in the Caribbean to obtain the accreditation. Launched in July of this year by the Airports Council International, the Airport Health Accreditation Program was established to assist airports by assessing new health measures and procedures introduced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This process is especially important as it seeks to reassure the traveling public that the airport facilities remain safe and that precautions are being taken to reduce any risk to their health. Don't go away. Coming up after the break, Petrojam ordered to pay millions to former manager, and 500,000 evacuated from Oregon as fires engulf the United States West Coast.
Oh gosh, what's this? Me son can't read or spell. Stop! 0 out of 20. Is what I gonna do here?
Hi guys, my name is Ms. Singh and I'm the Senior Teacher at the Treasure After School Program. Due to the spread of the coronavirus and the need for social distancing, we have moved our in-class learning activities to online via Skype. On the online side, we will be focusing on spelling, phonics, reading, and the National Grade 6 assessments. For more information, you can inbox us or call us.
Contact us on 675-4379. I can call them now. Hidden treasures, discovering gems in young minds.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. Jamaica state-owned oil refinery Petrojam was ordered to pay the former general manager Howard Mollison millions of dollars following his abrupt dismissal 4 years ago. The ruling was handed down on Wednesday by the Industrial Disputes Tribunal. The IDT also ordered that payments made to the former Petrojam boss at the time of his dismissal in 2016 should not be deducted from the $15.8 million award. Petrojam is also facing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from another former general manager, Floyd Grindley, for wrongful dismissal and reputational damage. In Colombia, the death toll from protests against the police has risen to at least 10 people. People were outraged after a father of two was repeatedly tasered while being arrested. He later died. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti reports.
For a second straight night, demonstrators clashed with security forces as they rallied against the killing of an unarmed man by the police. Protesters hurled rocks, blocked roads, and attempted to burn neighborhood police stations. Since the riot began on Wednesday, at least 9 people have been killed and more than 60 were injured by firearms allegedly shot by the police.
This is happening because people are fed up. At some point, the pressure explodes. And if people need to die, so be it. But there has to be a solution.
The mayor of Bogotá, Claudia Lopez, urged protesters to refrain from violence, but compared the police response to the worst days of Colombia's armed conflict.
The indiscriminate of firearms cannot be considered police abuse. This is a direct attack on unarmed citizens, civilians, the vast majority of them young people.
The protests were sparked by this video of 43-year-old Javier Ordóñez being pinned to the ground by 2 officers for violating coronavirus rules. The agents repeatedly tasered him as he begged, "Please no more." He died soon after. His sister-in-law says that Ordóñez was assassinated and demanded justice.
This wasn't an abuse, it was murder. 2 agents killed my brother-in-law, and it can't end in a disciplinary action. It has to be a penal one. My brother-in-law was killed by the violence and the hatred we have nurtured for years in Colombia. The last thing we wanted was that his death sparked more violence.
The government said abuse of power should not be tolerated, but insisted authorities are facing massive acts of vandalism and violence. Many Colombians say these demonstrations show people's anger goes beyond the issue of police brutality.
We need real fundamental change in this country, and the vandalism doesn't help, but is a way to call the government and the people's attention. Because this year we've seen many human rights leaders killed, the economy falling apart. We need change.
It's clear that people's frustration has reached a boiling point with the killing of Javier Ordóñez. The question now is if these protests will be the spark that will revive the kind of mass demonstrations that have rattled the country at the end of last year. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
And internationally, in the United States, 500,000 people have been ordered to leave their homes in Oregon as wildfires continue to spread across the West Coast. At least 11 people have now been killed in several affected states. Al Jazeera's Patty Colhane reports.
San Francisco at dawn Thursday, an ominous sign of what the day would bring. Fires chewing through hectare after hectare, pushed by fast-moving winds, devouring the dry land in its path and destroying everything. Entire towns gone.
A horror. Horrible.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. You don't know whether your home's going to be there when you get back. We have animals that we couldn't bring with us that are cows.
Hopefully we have a place to live, because if our stuff burns down, that's it. I mean, I'm on a fixed income.
Millions told to be ready to flee, some making the narrowest of escapes.
I thought I was going to die. There was fire 360 degrees around me.
Among the dead, 2 found in a car that didn't make it through the wall of flames in Oregon, and a 1-year-old baby boy in Washington state.
Now, to put this in perspective, in the last 3 days, we have lost more acreage to fires than in any single entire year in the history of the state of Washington, except 2015.
Leaders are warning residents the death toll will surely climb. There are almost 100 fires burning throughout the West, the vast majority of them uncontained and growing.
The fires that are going on in the western United States right now are unprecedented, even to our most senior leadership and senior, most tenured people on incident management teams in this country. We have not seen this before.
Tens of millions of people impacted, even those far away. In Los Angeles, the pollution level reached a high not seen in 26 years. And by all indications, all of it is just going to continue to get worse in the coming days. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera.
That's all for today's regional and international news. Here is your 3-day weather forecast. That's it for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. Tune in Monday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Also, visit our website at headlinenewsghana.com for all the news we couldn't fit in the newscast. Until then, take care.